Welcome back, people of the internet. I'm your host Raven Geeks, coming at you with another Blue Lock video. Today we will be continuing the story scenario of what if Isagi got HIORIS advice early. If you're excited for part 2 and want to see more, hit that like and subscribe button. It's completely free and it's greatly appreciated in supporting the channel. With his recent 3v3 match concluded resulting in a victory, Isagi along with his team of Nagi, Burū and Chigiri seek to challenge Rin's team once again. However, the knowledge in which Isagi had picked up in the prior match will prove to change the events of this showdown drastically. To begin the game, we have Isagi matching up against Bachida like normal. However, this time, not only is Isagi more capable with keeping up with Bachida's movements through use of his reflexive movements, but he's able to steal the ball himself without the use of Burū, in turn saving their anti-chemical reaction trick until later on. Isagi pushes up with the ball, and upon being face to face with Rin, he knows he lacks the physical capabilities in order to beat him on his own. So Isagi makes a pass to Chigiri down the wing, resulting in a much easier first point for their team. We see that even with the next kickoff starting as a much more team incorporated strategy on Rin's side, it's proven to be less effective. A better Isagi can take better approaches against a Rin who is still on the same level as he was in the original. Whilst individually Isagi is still outmatched, it doesn't take away from the fact that Isagi is a much harder player to get around. Rin needed to sacrifice his first goal to make a pass to Bachida due to Isagi's quick responses, leading to Bachida in this scenario being the first one to score for his team, but Isagi still makes his objective clear to devour Rin, as even with his better reaction speeds alongside better usage of his eyes, Rin always has some sort of contingency plan just in case he gets pressured too much. With the next kickoff, Nagi passes the ball down to the wing for Chigiri. Isagi would have reacted and found a blind spot away from the opposing cast, but now his reflexes and goal scent are telling him how much of a dead end that approach may be. Instead, Isagi charges directly ahead where Rin follows. Going too far on the outside, he would have immediately been anticipated by Rin, so safe to say he chose the better option here. Chigiri makes a pass to Isagi, and knowing he can't outmaneuver him right now, he makes a quick pass to Nagi. Bachida attempts to intercept, but much like with Burū, Nagi's first touch breathes life into the ball, serving him well in getting past the monster dribbler, leading to him scoring the second goal for Isagi's team. Isagi may need some more time to analyse Rin's movements further, by either replicating it into his own style or adapting to it so he can beat Rin in a one-on-one situation, which is much more feasible than the original. Rin starts with the next ball, and he does need to utilise Bachida, as much as doing so would make him less effective later on in the game. Bachida getting the ball here does lead to the same Bachida and RU chemical reaction goal like the main story. Being tied at 2 goals apiece, the momentum of this game was so much different. Isagi was primarily used as an assister, making passes to Nagi and Chigiri to get through, but now Isagi, before making his own push, had kept his eyes so closely on Rin they're practically hyperfixated, and that's when he sees it. What makes Rin so interesting is that he is always in the best possible position naturally, a position to grasp on an opportunity like Konagami did in part 1 of the series. The reflex in which Isagi has to help execute his direct shot is unfortunately countered by someone with better physical specs and an already large grasp of high level positioning and spacing. Isagi had made his attempt to get Nagi's pass ball, but as expected, Rin caught up, and it was in this sequence that allowed Isagi to realise the next stage of his evolution. Burū, like the original, was the one to logically steal the ball from Isagi to score, and because I can't say these two words together, here's the text. Rin now has to adapt himself whilst Isagi was already moving beyond the control stage of Burū. What could I do to retrieve as much information as possible? Isagi had been facing away from Nagi as he was thinking, so Nagi called out to Isagi that the restart was going to commence. Isagi of course naturally turned his head to face Nagi, but in that moment he saw the other aspects of the field, such as where all the other opposing players are positioned. Wait. Is it really that simple? The restart begins, and Isagi had immediately put his new formula to the test, mixing his spatial awareness, the fundamentals of optimal positioning from the unintentional luck of Konagami, as well as Rin's naturally high level of the skill, and his obtained reflex from the beginning of the series. He was making use of all of them at the same time. He was also turning his head to absorb as much information on the pitch as he can, which led to him unknowingly using metavision for the very first time. For those who believe HIORIS advice unlocked metavision for Isagi during the third selection, this is half right, as instead he accessed a very incomplete variant of the ability whilst utilising flow to maintain it. At the time he lacked some of the pieces in which made that ability fully complete, but the balance of anxiety and boredom and how to get in the best position for his direct shot with the use of reflex allowed him to unlock flow, which has already happened in the 3v3 match in part 1. However, this match is the perfect opportunity for Isagi to discover his new abilities and mix them together, as he now has the fundamentals to do so, such as already knowing the aspect of luck from Kunigami, learning the optimal positioning details from Rin, of course having reflex, and finally, a little unintentional read of the field with a head turn which Kaiser unknowingly had shown Isagi whilst Isagi was seeking to replicate Kaiser's movements, referring to him as the ideal variant of himself during the NEL. Now he has unlocked his professional level weapon. Back to the story though, Isagi is clearly a much different player. To the audience we can see his Metavision eyes for the very first time. Chigiri was tasked to try and keep Rin in check whilst putting the pressure on Bachara as well, and when Bachara got past Chigiri, he was shook seeing Isagi literally in his face moments later. Unfortunately they didn't kiss and instead Isagi stole the ball and started to exchange passes with Chigiri. Rin attempts to stop them, but now not only is Rin outnumbered, but his skill is being outmatched as Isagi shoots his direct shot that flies in between Rin's legs when his body weight shifted towards Isagi from the final pass made by Chigiri. Isagi scoring against Rin in an incredible fashion. However, as if it struck him like lightning, Isagi falls to his hands and knees in exhaustion. Even using Metavision in such a short burst, it completely drained him of his stamina, as at this point in the story, Isagi is not even close to the level of physicality he was in the Manshine City game. And even in that game, using the ability for not even the full match led to him passing out when the match had concluded. Chigiri was naturally the first one to check on him, reciting how amazing that goal was and if he needs any help. It's because of Isagi that Chigiri is at a higher level of energy than he would be if he was left to contest against Bachara and Rin on his own. But seemingly everyone is feeling the drain of this match as it's ongoing, and Isagi only just barely gets back to his feet and gathers his composure enough to start walking again. Isagi reached his limit with that one play, and the chances of him tapping into Metavision again in this game is very unlikely, but he can still play as the anchor for the team whilst they are less at risk of losing, being 2 goals up. Some events going forward are going to play out just like the original, such as the demonstration of Tokimitsu's high stamina and less fatigued state, leading to him being tackled by Chigiri and Burū to give a free kick opportunity to Rin. Isagi is still placed in the walls alongside Chigiri, but this time Isagi was going to jump to block Rin's shot from going over his head, but he couldn't. His legs gave out on him in this moment, and due to that, Rin made the score 4-3. It's hard to blame Isagi here, as he knew he couldn't be as reliable of a component if he was the lowest energy player currently playing. Isagi's team didn't have many other options left, so they decided to finally pull out their 4-player chemical reaction. Isagi playing as the individual who made the passes to lessen the strain he had, and when Isagi's use was fulfilled, it was now down to Nagi, Chigiri and Burū to make the final goal of the match. Bachara in this version of events didn't have the time to comprehend his own sense of loneliness, as during the time he felt it kicking in, it was the period where Isagi had scored and immediately suffered the drawbacks of his new awakening. Bachara was still enthusiastic to play as ever, and played well enough to stop Nagi from achieving the goal, so that responsibility was begrudgingly and unpredictably left to Burū. A couple of chop feints later against Tokimitsu and Rin, and Burū was the final goal scorer of this match. Isagi's team had won 5-3. The collaborative efforts of their team's chemical reaction, which instead utilised Burū's forward plays instead of Isagi's, was just as effective. Now, what's left is the final decision of who Isagi's team would pick to join their ranks. This was actually when Bachara got a bit nervous, but Isagi quickly shut those worries down as he requested for Bachara to join their team. Nagi was about to interject, but Burū interrupted and agreed with the fact that they need a solid passer. Having a passer means more goal scoring opportunities for him after all. Chigiri was inclined to agree, and Nagi, against his own want to pick Rin, accepted that Bachara should join the team. It was an aspect of their team that they were severely lacking, as even Isagi and Nagi mentioned this at the time they were a team of 2. And for anyone who believes that Isagi would instead pick Rin instead of Bachara, his issues of getting the ball stem from a lack of a passer that understands him. Bachara was the best person to support Isagi due to their chemistry, and of course led to Isagi promising he would steal back Bachara. Nagi stating that Isagi would pick Rin if they won was purely from Nagi's perspective of how he thought he understood Isagi's mindset, and whilst Isagi would want to outperform Rin, he had already done that by winning this game, so he would see no other need to pick him for his team compared to Bachara. Even if you still disagree with me, this is how I see the story playing out, and honestly it's much more interesting this way. Bachara was completely relieved that Isagi stuck to his promise, and the first team of 5 made their way to advance as they left the top 3 in the dust. Isagi was holding on to Nagi as they were walking due to his stamina being metaphorically in the bin. They arrived in the next room where Ego congratulates the team and specifically points out Isagi's evolution. Addressing the state that he tapped into was known as flow, an explanation of the immersed state before the original provided Isagi with much more clarification on how he can maintain it going forward. Ego also announces the match against the World 5 will commence as their final match as a team. They would all have to prepare for that time to come, so they of course get to work, each player of the team of 5 conditioning themselves. Isagi was especially working on improving his physical specs, realizing it was his only way of maintaining his latest discovered ability. The time comes for the 5 of them to meet the World 5 on the same pitch, and that will conclude our part 2 of this series. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, let me know with a like and subscribe, and also comment down below your predictions on what will happen in this next match. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.